and welcome to Follow the Money. I'm Robert Tan. Here we uncover the stories and strategies of how money really moves. When we talk about corruption, we usually think of politicians, contracts, and kickbacks. But what if the real battle isn't just political, or is it fiscal? Today, we sit down with global tax expert Mon Abrea, the man known as the Tax Whiz, to talk about how taxation could actually be the key to ending corruption, dismantling political dynasties, and restoring trust in government. Good afternoon, Mon. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Robert.
Okay, Mon, let's start with this. Now, how can the BIR use its tax powers to trace kickbacks and fake costs in flood control projects and other infrastructure projects?
You know, Robert, if the BIR will be thorough in their audit and investigation, any amount paid by the government is subject to withholding. So there is an easy way to verify how much should be declared by these government contractors. And if it is true that allegedly 30 to 40% are being paid as kickbacks or under the table, it's a no-brainer that either they won't declare it or they will find a way to reduce their taxable income by padding expenses. And this can readily, this should raise red flags. So if BIR will audit through their documents, they will see whether there are under declaration on the income, which obviously is normally, based on our experience, that's the normal case. Because, you know, Robert, once you pay under the table, let's say 40% of the contract was paid to a corrupt politician, a lawmaker, or a government official, you still have to pay the 12% of that based on the contract. So sometimes the normal tendency is they under-declare already, and they just pay BIR examiner once they get audited. Or that they produce either fake receipts or unrelated, unofficial expenses. Let's say they buy sports car, they buy other expenses, they purchase unrelated items, and they claim it as their expenses to reduce their taxable income. Either way, Robert, this will still be a result to a deficiency tax. Again, that's the reason why we keep asking the DOF now and the BIR to adopt the risk-based audit. The World Bank has been asking us to adopt the risk-based audit so that it's a no-brainer why the BIR should focus on politicians or government officials and the government contractors. Because our GDP, 20 to 25% of our GDP is government spending. Therefore, there's a possible tax exposure there. So every year, the BIR issues tax clearance. My question is, how come that they did not see this? How come that the Diskaya reached a quadruple A category in their in the government contracts? Imagine quadruple A. It means they continue to accumulate from 2016 to the present government contracts.
Now, if we talk about climate funds, billions are still at risk. How can tax policy promote climate accountability and prevent corruption in green spending?
As we always say, a lot of countries, including Malaysia, has already adopted AI and blockchain. Tax policy should be able to crack down illegitimate or unqualified government contractors. In fact, one of the proposals we made to the Finance Committee Chair, Senator Gatchalian, is to consider putting a cap into the awards to be given to a single company. Although our Philippine competition law also imposes a huge penalty, 100 million, 200 million for bid rigging. Because, Robert, I don't believe that there are no other qualified contractors. But at the same time, we should also allocate 20 to 25% of our government contracts to MSMEs, because not all contracts are huge. Some contracts can be delivered or be given to our MSMEs so that we really help promote inclusive growth. Imagine billions of pesos to 1 or 10 companies only. I think there's really a problem there, especially if we're talking about climate funding, because Secretary Balisacan already said that we need at least 5 trillion to deliver our commitment to Paris Agreement. But the Greenpeace reported that more than 1 trillion is already tagged for climate initiatives, but more than half is lost due to corruption. So I think our problem is not money. Robert, clearly we have the funds, but we are not able to use it wisely or judiciously.
But
and
that
here
also,
comes
But that also
And the tax
depends
policy will
on
be-
yes,
Yes.
yes, Mon. But that also depends whether biddings are done correctly, fairly, and openly, right? So if there's
Exactly.
more transparency.
Exactly. So it appears, even if we claim that it has been automated, it appears that it has been compromised. So we have to revisit as well, without necessarily over-regulating, because Robert, we need to balance it. Our foreign investors are already
Yes,
complete
of course.
so much regulation. With all this corruption issue and tendency, we might be too strict again to the point that another layer of bureaucracy that may again trigger graft and corruption. So we need to balance it.
Now, Mon, with the flood control project issue hanging over our country, the BSP now has taken action in monitoring large cash withdrawals. Now, will this actually curb money laundering and hidden wealth, or just, like you said, an addition to bureaucracy?
Ombudsman Carpio mentioned in one of her interviews, she said that we have so many laws and regulations already, Robert. The question is, or the problem is, implementation. Imagine, the cap is 500,000. How come that the land bank dispersed 500 million without any question, when the anti-money laundering should already dictates that at 500,000 you should be able to know your client, or you should be able to ask the source and the purpose. So increasing it may be, adjusting it may be good, but again, we need to really focus on a strict implementation.
But what's lacking?
And make sure,
What's
Yes.
lacking, Mon, in terms of monitoring and really showing transparency in all these either withdrawals or disbursements?
I think the discretionary power of officials is overwhelming. We need that, and that's why I believe blockchain and tech transparency is really at risk if we will not be able to adopt again the blockchain, because transparency transparency ends when accountability begins. Therefore, if it exceeds, let's say, the cap, any official should not just be able to release it. It should be flagged by the system, and apparently that's not what's happening, Robert. So we need to really adopt technology so that discretionary power of anyone. And I think here I am reminded of what our former Vice President Robredo said. We need a system that will force us to be good. We cannot rely on the goodness or values of government officials, because we are all good, but we can all be tempted. So the system in place should force us to do good, whether we will be caught or not.
Parang playbook, something that you could
Exactly.
really use. Now, Mon, corruption is, of course, hurting investor confidence. As a tax expert, how can better tax governance help in rebuilding the trust in the Philippine economy?
Time and again, Robert, we will say that simplification and digitalization should go hand in hand. The common complaint of our foreign investors is when they deal with customs and with BIR, because of the unnecessary audit, unnecessary penalties, and here comes this huge corruption issue. So if we are really strict to our regular taxpayers and to investors, how come this multi-billion corruption issue happened? So I think it's really the implementation, but at the same time, digitalization, so that the discretionary power will be reduced. I don't think we can totally eradicate corruption, but at least we can lessen it. We can reduce it to the point that they cannot just steal money anytime, at any amount they want. So tax policy is there to make sure that there will be a risk-based regular audit, and that the penalty will be imposed, and that includes perpetual disqualification. Robert, my only wish at the end of this investigation is to disqualify all these corrupt politicians. If it means abolishing Congress or Congress being empty, then so be it. Because I don't believe they are not guilty. It's either they are complicit or totally inefficient. Why this all happened?
Now, Mon, based on what you've been saying, it seems like BIR is center stage here. Now, looking at that, when we look at the BIR, how can they now match declared assets with real wealth, especially when money can be hidden in assets through shell firms or offshore accounts, those that cannot be seen on the local scene here?
Well, at first, honestly, Robert, we need to lift bank secrecy because even if they hide it, you cannot totally make it disappear. I'm always reminded of the Al Capone case. No matter how many how you hide the evidences, the moment you spend the money, you use the money, even cryptocurrency. We cannot tax crypto because we cannot follow the traces of cryptocurrency. But the moment you spend it, you buy luxury car, you buy mansions, and some of them are already have bought residences at Forbes Park and all these exclusive subdivisions. It's easy to track it down, and if it is named under their drivers, assistants, then it can also be traced because what is the source of fundings for their drivers or assistants. So I think now that the SALEN is already accessible to the public, there should be a permanent program or division in BIR that will really have a joint effort with the Ombudsman, with COA, to the lifestyle check of all our public officials because a multi-trillion budget is at risk if we will not make sure that all our government officials are honest or at the very least will be held accountable in case they abuse their power.
So basically looking at a synergistic effect between all these agencies. But you've mentioned, Mon, SALN. Now, how can the BIR now integrate the SALN data into its audit system to be able to detect discrepancies between declared assets and actual lifestyle or bank records of those that should be investigated?
You know, as I said before, our tax code is inspired or copied from US, and it's very clear there that income from all sources are taxable. So any unexplained wealth will result to tax evasion. So if they declare it, let's say for instance, and I have cited this online, I have said that now that the Ombudsman said it is accessible to the public, why don't we start with the Speaker of the House? In the last 3 years, since he became Speaker, he declared a 1,000 increase in net worth, from an estimate of 300 million to 3 billion. So I'm not saying that he is corrupt. What I'm saying is if that will be subject to audit and lifestyle check, you can readily determine whether the sources are legit and taxes were paid. As simple as that, Robert. If you have nothing to hide, I mean, I'm sorry for saying super simple, but what I'm saying is if you have nothing to hide, there's nothing to worry or there's nothing to fear. So if there is a 2 billion increase in your net worth, then we just want to know, BIR should investigate whether all taxes were paid. Now, if it is not declared, then that's a more problematic part because you cannot enjoy anything that is not subject to tax. And I think online it is now the memes coming out. Whatever you do in the Philippines is being taxed. Then the more that we will hold our government officials accountable or put them in higher standards.
But then again, as you said, we have the policies. It's just that the problem of implementation. But before we move on and discuss more about that, Mon, we'll take a short break. Follow the money. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Follow the Money. Still with us is Mon Abrea, Chief Tax Advisor at Asian Consulting. Now, Mon, we are talking about policies, implementation, but let's talk about now another issue. Let's say when a public official runs for office, the law states that they must divest from their business. Now, should that rule also cover their spouses, children, relatives to prevent influence and insider advantage?
Possibly, Robert, but I am more concerned with banning or not allowing them to join government bidding or to get any government contracts. I think it should be part of the sacrifice that any public servant, public official will have to make. So if they are in public office, especially the elected ones, then I think they should inform all their relatives, at least up to fourth consanguinity, na during my term, none of you should be part of any government bidding. I think that's practical because we want to be fair and we cannot remove the conflict of interest if, like for instance, Senator Bongo is saying he doesn't know, or he's not involved, and if only he can change his family name. Well, that's water under the bridge. During the term of Duterte, your family won a lot of government contracts, and whether we like it or not, there's an alleged or possible undue influence and conflict of interest there.
True. Now, there are a lot of questions hounding this issue because some of the questions that say those who are asking are saying, even if you divest, you personally, but then either a relative,
the ultimate beneficial
remains,
owner.
Yes.
That's the issue of the beneficial owner. Ultimately, who's still the owner? That's why I think the best is to distance themselves during their term or while in public office, that none of them or their relatives should benefit or participate in government bidding. And I think that's fair.
Now, moving on to political dynasty. Now, if their wealth grows faster than its declared income, now, should the burden now of proof shift to them?
During BIR audit, Robert, the burden is really on the taxpayer. That's why I keep on asking now BIRs and asking the help of DOF to suspend the regular audit. Why? Not because we don't want to audit taxpayers, because the BIR has less than 10,000 employees or examiners, probably less, much even less. So they need to launch a nationwide audit and lifestyle check, not only to those related to this DPWH contracts. We're now talking about in all levels, in all government agencies. We need to make sure that we will crack down corruption in all levels, in all government agencies. And tax policy, tax audit will be very helpful, because at the end of the day, as what we've learned from the Al Capone case, honestly, it's hard to gather all the evidences to prosecute them under the anti-graft and corrupt practices, plunder, whatsoever. You need evidences. You need the prima facie evidence. But the tax code makes it easy, because any unexplained wealth is a prima facie evidence. Imagine their salary, Robert, is less than 300,000. And a congressman, a senator is only making 240,000 plus per month. So there is no way that they can afford all this lavish lifestyle, or there's no way that they can explain any increase in net worth that goes beyond.
But like you said, Mon, the policies are there. They can investigate. We've seen this. SALN's been there every year. It's there. Why is there no movement?
Well, either there's no political will, or politics it's an interplay of politics, that they only use it against their political enemies. And that's why we keep saying now, with the massive corruption that we have been exposed to, that we need now BIR to do their job. Stop doing PR. Stop showing us that you filed case against this kaya. We need you to audit all of them. We need you to file charges against all of them. And we need you to make sure that none of them will be part of the 2028 election. That is the power of the tax code. And if BIR cannot do that, then we have to abolish BIR as well, because they're not doing their job.
Now, Mon, if we look at artificial intelligence and blockchain, could this truly help detect tax evasion and graft, or are they just being oversold as quick tech fixes?
But it can be a quick fix, but at the same time, I think it can enhance, and it can really allow, particularly BIR, to gather as much information or identify the high-risk taxpayers, especially if it will be a data sharing among government agencies, with SEC, with AMLA, Anti-Money Laundering Council, with even the LGUs, DPWH, and all other government agencies. And in fact, even with the COA should also adopt a risk-based audit. Because, Robert, I've talked to I have friends as well in government, and a lot of them are afraid of COA. And yet, as multi-billion corruption happened. So, what is exactly COA doing? Maybe they are also auditing the wrong person or the wrong agency, or being too strict on those which are not really exposed to corruption. So again, the use of technology, risk-based, will definitely allow us to focus our resources on high-risk, high-yield audit.
Yeah, I guess maybe they should look more into that because, as you mentioned, COA is really the line of defense, supposedly, for corruption and those corrupt practices, and they audit all those. But then, again, there are issues of lack of people and all that. But again, if we look at all these that are happening here, Mon, let's say if there was one tax policy that you would want to be implemented right away, what would it be?
Well, actually, I said it already, to suspend BAR audit and audit all the corrupt politicians. But honestly, Robert, let me just tackle the proposed policies right now, because I find it very reckless and populist, the proposed one-month income tax holiday. It will disproportionately impact the high-income earners because a lot of our employees are already exempted under the trade law. Our counter proposal is to just increase the personal exemption or the income tax exemption from 250,000 to 300 or 400,000, which is actually a proposal already under the Ginhawa bill of Senator Gatchalian. Why? Because it will help the middle income earners. At the end of the day, Robert, those who are burdened when it comes to taxes are not the poor.
It's the middle class.
Exactly. The poor are not paying income tax. Yes, they're paying VAT, but minor, minimal. It's the middle class, the employees who are burdened by the income tax. Especially 83% of our personal income tax collection are from middle income earners. And of course, in terms of amount, from those ultra-rich. That's why an income tax holiday will just make the ultra-rich happier. So we do not support the one-month income tax holiday, other than the fact that it might crash our economy. Second, the abolishing VAT also is very reckless. That means at least 800 billion or more revenue loss. But we can reduce it. And our foreign investors, our companies will be happy because it will also reduce prices from 12% to 10% VAT. But we should remove the unnecessary VAT exemption, which is also the recommendation of World Bank. So
I guess that would be true also, and if that does happen, and it would be a welcome happening for the middle class, it would also probably increase consumption. Because
exactly.
they're going to have more money in their pocket.
Exactly. So I'm not saying tax policy is the solution to all our problems, but if we will really think thoroughly, then it can really help us and unburden our kababayan, especially the middle-income earners.
Okay, Mon, you're not new to this. Let's go to our rapid-fire questions. Just answer yes or no. No need to explain. Okay, let's start with this. Can the BIR trace kickbacks faster than they disappear? Yes or no?
No.
Should political families file joint SAL-Ns to stop hiding assets? Yes or no?
Yes.
Can AI really catch corrupt officials? Yes or no?
Yes.
Will tax reform finally make the system fair for everyone?
I hope so. Yes.
Can better tax tracking scare off fake contractors? Yes or no?
Yes.
And finally, Mon, complete the sentence. Money is the root of all
evil.
Evil talaga. Okay. Thank you, Mon, for sharing your insights. Thank you for joining us today. And hopefully, we'll have a better tomorrow.
The solution, honestly, is your show. Follow the money.
Yes, true. Thank you. Thank you, Mon. And when talking about taxes, corruption, and politics, sometimes only humor can capture the truth. As the late Miriam Defensor Santiago once said, bakit nakaschedule ang kampanya para eleksyon? Dahil dito, napapatunayan kung anong klaseng politiko ang nangangampanya. Kung matunaw sila sa init, ibig sabihin plastic sila. Kung masunog sila sa araw, mapapel sila. At kung mahilig silang magbilad sa araw, malamang buhaya sila. As the government cracks down on tax evasion and corruption, the real test lies in fairness and accountability. Can tax reforms clean up a system where kickbacks, shell firms, and fake costs have long been hidden in plain sight? The answer depends on how strongly we demand transparency and how deeply we value trust in our institutions. I'm Robert Tan. Stay curious, stay sharp, and always follow the money.